to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There you go. There are no district announcements this evening, and we have not received any public comments. So I'm going to switch it up with one sample first.
Sure.
We'll have our October financials first with Mrs. Schweizer, please.
Okay. October, the transfers were really minimal. We are back to running accounts payable checks on a weekly basis. So our claims auditor reviewed $7.5 million in claims this month. The general fund revenues are where we expected them to be. State aid payments that came in were at 100%. The general fund expenditures are in line with the revenues. The benefits are up from last year, but that's normal. Special aid, we received our first grant payment for the 611 grant in November, so you don't see it in October, but we did get it, and hopefully we will have more to follow next month. And all accounts have been reconciled.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions? Thank you very much. Okay, next up we'll have Mr. Carmelo with an update.
Did Matt get back on?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I thought it was important to do a little COVID update. So if you listened at all to the governor and or any of the county executives over the last couple of weeks, everybody was nervous about Thanksgiving. We're warning that people needed to remain safe and avoid large gatherings, or we're going to have a spike. So we've gotten more this week than we have, and I think that's causing a little concern. I sent an email out today, had a really good meeting with the School 16 faculty this afternoon, virtually of course, but they got to express their concerns. They asked some really good questions, but I think at the end of it, we're probably on for a half hour, a little more. I think they felt really great. Followed up with Dr. Ford, who said that they were all pleased with it. So, the reason I did 16 is they've had 3 staff members over there test positive. Our total cases is still relatively low. So our total positive cases from the beginning of the whole thing is only 16 at this point. Again, not that 16 is good news, and not that we necessarily want to compare ourselves to everybody around us, but there are districts that are having double figures, per day and things. So, we have 10 students since the start. 2 of them were before we even got into school in early September. All of them are been remote, whatever that means. We haven't yet had a student who has caused us to do any contact tracing or quarantine. That's good news, and hopefully that continues. We're up to 6 staff members, and again, it's 4 this week. So that's a lot, and that's why I think the concern is starting to happen. We work with the Department of Health. Again, I put that in my email today. I just need people to know. I know there's concern. I know there's angst about it. I need people to know that John Carmelo's not making the decision on what we do when we find out we have a case. I mean, ultimately I am, but I'm on the phone with the Department of Health 6, 7 times a day, sometimes more. During the day, at night, over the weekend. I don't decide on who to contact trace and who to quarantine and what the plan's going to be without their help. They're the experts. I'm not a COVID expert. And they've been great. They've been fantastic. So I put that in my email today, and I actually got some responses from some staff members who said, thank you, that makes me feel so much better, and all that. So I think it just, people need it, and I'm not sure people thought it was necessarily not that case, but I think it's just important to remind them. It's not that, I talked to them once and got the rules, and now I just do it on my own. Every single time we get a positive, I call, and sometimes it's, the other day, 2 happened within a half hour of each other. So I was a little frustrated because I had sent out an email about 6:30 at night, I think it was, and then she called me back at 10:07 and said, "Oh, you got another one." I'm like, "Oh man, I shouldn't have done it so quickly. I could have sent them both out." So then we talked through that one. So each case is separate, and each case I talk to the experts and we go through it. The other specific thing that I think is causing some concern with people is this time elapse that happens. So all 4 of our staff cases that have happened this week, the last time they were in any building was last Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So the way it works, and again, not my rule, the way the Department of Health has determined it works is we find out when the symptoms started from that individual through their interviews of the individual, not my interviews of the individual, and then when they got tested. So whichever's earlier, so they err on the side of caution. So let's say you got symptoms, because one of them was this case, symptoms Friday night after Thanksgiving, decide to go get tested Saturday morning, results come back sometime this week. So they take the Friday night, because that's the earlier one. Some people just get tested because they've been exposed and they don't have symptoms. So if there's no symptoms, we just go by the test date. So if the symptoms were Friday night, they go back 2 days, exactly 48 hours. So from Friday night, it's Wednesday night. And then they say the contact tracings start then. And so from Wednesday night, they're never in school again, because then it's Thanksgiving, then it's Friday, then it's the weekend. And the one good thing about all of these staff members, and again, the students are full remote, so I don't really have to talk too much about them, is they're making the right decisions, and I included this in my email today too. If you're not feeling well, or if you've gotten a test for some reason, well, you've got a test, you have to stay home. But if you're not feeling well, and you have any of the symptoms, you're feeling uneasy or just off, stay home. Don't risk infecting other people and causing more problems. So that teacher was Friday night, Saturday. The other employees were even later in that system. The one that we found out last night had symptoms Saturday, decided to get tested Sunday. His wife got sick Sunday, decided to get tested Sunday night. So again, you go back 48 hours and you're in Thanksgiving break the whole time. Now, if someone has symptoms, one of them had symptoms Wednesday night, before Thanksgiving. So her 48 hours goes to Monday night. So now we did have to look at who was she with Tuesday or Wednesday in the building. Now she's a remote teacher. We haven't yet had too many cases where once we hit that person's positive, and now we're, again, some of the local district got hundreds of people on quarantine, because if you have a classroom, and we had it with the one TA at School 14, that whole class got quarantined. This person was a remote teacher who teaches from her classroom, so we have one other adult that's going to be quarantined because she came in and they did some work together. So I sent that other email out this week just to remind people, even the shortest meetings, please do them virtually. Please don't congregate, please don't have lunch with each other. I know people need some social interaction, but you're going to have to do it the way we're doing it right here with some of the board members, and have your meetings virtually. So the person had symptoms on Wednesday before Thanksgiving. She had contact with one other person with a duration. So it's 15 minutes of duration in the same shared space, in the same shared air in one room. But that's how it works. And so I explained that a little bit to the School 16 staff today. I think they felt a lot better, understanding that, again, it's not just some random haphazard decisions that I'm making, but that there's a step-by-step process and there are rules and protocols that we're following each time. I keep reminding people to keep doing all the things, social distancing, wearing your mask, washing your hands, avoid congregating in school, avoid large gatherings outside of school. And again, we're so much better off than I have, as you know, I have meetings 3 times a week with the local superintendents, and we're better off than most of them. Some of it might be luck, and some of it might be the plans and procedures and protocols we put in place. But we want to get to Christmas. We said last time, kids need to be in school. Parents need to have that choice whether they want to keep kids home or send them in. We don't want to force parents to try to make a plan to be home when maybe they can't. And Dr. Watson will be doing that presentation that we discussed last time at the December 16th board meeting. But the longer we can stay open, the better, and we hope we can stay open the whole year, obviously. I think that's my update.
It's interesting, because I did hear on the, I don't remember one of the news, that there are more, they were talking about keeping kids in school, and they're saying how it is safer because they're, I guess it's not just our district, but statewide, that a lot of the cases are, with kids, are kids that are remote only. I thought that was ironic. I wonder how that is. It's like, what are these, you know, what's going on?
I was talking about with Mr. Mariano yesterday, and we had a theory. I don't have any proof other than it's just our theory when we were talking, is when the kids are remote all day, especially the high school age kids, at the end of their day, they're not as tired as if they come to school. And so, you know, we're thinking that they're remote all day on their house, and then they're going out. They're going to the mall. They're going, you know, to the friend's house or whatever. I don't have any proof of that.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
But if you spend all day, if you get up early and spend all day, not that you don't have to get up early to be remote, but you're getting up early to a different kind of urgency. You're getting up early, getting dressed, getting to school, being in school all day, getting home, you know, maybe you're not so inclined to socialize after that. I don't know if that's the answer, but so far our students that have gotten it have been remote students.
That's what I thought they were on.
I'm hearing that that parents are deciding to take their kids out now and keep them home. How are we handling the extra virtual learning? I mean, are we doing that okay now?
It hasn't been many.
Yeah. Well, it's several a day that we get going that way. Handling the more virtual is a lot easier than handling the other way. So it's a good question to lead to the next topic, which I should have brought up. So the survey we put out, remember the one in the summer where people decided for the first half of the year. So that one went out a couple weeks ago and it ended yesterday for people to decide now for the second half of the year. So Tarek and the tech department are working on the data for me right now, and the cabinet and I will look at it probably late this week or early next week. We'll have until end of January to make our decisions. But with the increase in cases around, I don't think we're going to get an influx that want to come back at this point. But if we do, we'll look at it and we'll see what we got. I mean, some of the principals are asking if we don't get the influx, and in fact, like you just said, people are leaving, could we let some grades come every day? And if the numbers play out that way, we'll certainly look at it. I'm not sure we'll get that many to go that other way.
They might with all these.
But they might.
Remote
They might.
kids getting sick.
The first one would be 6th grade for us. I mean, we talked about that when school started. 6th grade was a tough one for us, as, you know, to even think about 6th graders only being here twice, you know, 2 days on, 2 days off. Mr. Mariano again has talked about wanting to get seniors back in, so that makes sure that they're on track for graduation and things. So we probably, if we do have the room, we probably start with those 2 grades and then figure out. And also, you know, needy kids that you know, have situations. You know, principals have called me. We've made a few changes along the way as people call with really extenuating circumstances. You remember we've let ESL kids come every day. We've let self-contained special eds, the neediest populations. And so there are people that don't qualify really for those 2, but also do have some documented and detailed things that it benefits them to be in school. So we've made some of those exceptions along the way. But we'll have, by the time Dr. Watson gives her December 16th presentation, we will have the survey numbers crunched, and that'll be part of it. We'll let you guys know where we are and if that's going to mean a change of our plan, good or bad. Other questions or comments?
John, I had a question.
Sure.
So I'm just going back to like, you know, your conversations with the Department of Health. So if a person tests but doesn't have symptoms, do they have to be out until they get the results of their test back?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just thinking, you know, especially with cases rising around here in general, if people are just being, say, overly cautious and say, you know, I need to get a test, that's gonna take them out of work or out of the building?
Yeah, so if they tell us, Matt, is the true answer, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
some people are doing it out of abundance of caution in their own lives, like you're saying. If they just do it and don't tell us, we'll have no way of knowing until they actually get a result. If they're positive, obviously, they'll have to tell us because their county will, Department of Health will tell us. But we do have some people emailing us. We had one today from School 16 who wasn't necessarily a direct contact with those cases over there, but is nervous enough that she wants to go get tested. So has let us know, and so she has to stay home for a couple of days while that test comes through, yes. And it's happening more with staff than students, but I'm sure there are students that are doing it too.
How are we feeling response from
That
within?
that would be my concern, that it would happen more with staff than students, because I don't think parents are going to necessarily send their kids out to get tested, even if cases spike, because they want them to be able to go to school.
Yeah,
So,
right, which is why I'm not getting tested. Just kidding, I got tested a couple weeks ago. Ann asked how we're filling those gaps. And, you know, same way we always do, substitutes if we can find them. They're scarce, you know, in a good year. So it's a lot of internal shuffling to cover classes. You know, we do the best we can. That was one of the questions from the School 16 staff. That was a good one. Right now there are 3.5, because there's one traveler, that are out. One teacher asked, you know, what if that becomes 12? I said, well, I mean, there's going to be a number, and it might necessarily be 16, but there's going to be a number, if we get to that number of teachers that are quarantined officially for some reason, that we'll probably have to close that building for a couple of weeks, that's all. We would open it as soon as we could, but that has happened to some, especially some of the smaller neighbors that, of ours district-wide, you know, that don't have as many teachers as us, right? Sometimes they have buildings that only have 8 teachers. You know, I think it happened in Wyanskill. They had a few teachers get it, and all of a sudden, that's, you know, 3/4 of their staff are going all red. So that could happen. I'll obviously keep the board posted if you know, if we're getting close to that number. Right now, we're not close to that number, but if we do get there.
And we're
Yes,
okay
Dr.
with
I was
Watson.
just going to say, we did give permission if people were quarantined by the Department of Health to teach from home. So
Yeah.
that helps too.
Yeah, great
If it's an
point.
official.
Yeah, that's a great point, and Matt, maybe you were wondering about that in the same kind of realm. So if someone is officially quarantined by the Department of Health, whether they're a positive case or direct contact with a positive, and they can do their job from home, and I have that disclaimer in there, and I'll tell you why in a second, but then we're allowing that. So we have several people that, like the School 16 cases right now, that people are feeling better, so they're working from home, or the lady who's, the woman who's quarantined is working from home. If you're just deciding, like Matt just suggested, that I'm going to be cautious and go get a test, so I'm going to be home because of something I just decided to do, you can't work from home if you're doing that. But if you're officially quarantined, you can. And I say if you can do your job from home, because I mean, if you're, you know, not to pick on the school monitors, but if you're a monitor and you're positive or you're quarantined, even though it's an official quarantine, there's not much you can do as a monitor virtually. So you would not be able to work from home. So it has to fit both categories. It has to fit, actually 3 categories. You have to be officially quarantined. You have to be not sick and well enough to want to work from home. And then if we determine you can do your job from home, we would let you. Thank you, Don, for bringing that up. Okay,
Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
Action items, superintendent recommendations, human resources, staff matters, unclassified, motion for consent agenda items 1 through 7.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Superintendent recommendations programs, special education placements as listed.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Superintendent recommendations, business finance, motion for consent agenda items 1 and 2.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Future meetings, our next meeting will be December 16th here at Troy Middle School at 6 p.m. where Dr. Watson will have her presentation. She's holding up slide 74, so she's got a few more to go.
So bring your sleeping bags.
She will be serving us.
Yeah, really, dinner.
It's not correct.
We got the remote control on the screen now. Right.
And then we have our meetings in January, January 6th at 6:30, and then January 20th at 6 p.m., which is will be another workshop. So if anybody has any ideas or suggestions, they want to let Mr. Carmelo and Dr. Watson know sooner than later so they can prepare.
Thank you.
Does anyone have anything else before we adjourn?
Are we waiting for the governor to give us an okay still with virtual, or were you all set with,
We got
All board meetings.
with board meetings?
I think it's December 4th where he decided to go. So, in all of these.
It's this week, though,
That's
right?
correct. So they usually wait till the
So-
last minute before.
Most likely he'll do it, but if not, we'll be in person next time.
I would anticipate they're going to do it, yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't understand
Why he doesn't just.
why he just doesn't say, okay, till the end of COVID.
Right.
I know it, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Well, the executive orders can only last 30 days under the executive law. So there is a time limit, that's why they need to be renewed.
Oh, yeah.
So,
This is
That's
why,
the
this
reason.
is why we need lawyers.
Very good. Are we no longer
Now it's on the agenda.
I take that back, Governor Cuomo.
Yeah, really.
Did anyone have anything else?
I'll just say my name is Ann Apicella.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you, good
Stay
evening,
safe.
thank you.